As this is the last council meeting of the year, we have a number of public forums presenting today. I will first welcome Melissa and Josh for the Christchurch City Mission to the table. Welcome. Far away.
Oh, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Melissa McCrenna, tuko ingoa. Ko Social City Mission, Social Impact Manager, tuko mahi.
Kia ora, I'm Josh. I'm the Outreach Kaimahi for the Christchurch City Mission. I've been working pretty hard for the last year, establishing, strong relations with not only the council, but the police, the inner city community, but more importantly, our street whānau, and not only in the inner city, but also around the suburbs in Christchurch. I have visited every single ward in our city in response to homelessness. I have visited people that are not only on their streets, but living in car parks, overcrowded housing, also in sheds and garages, but also an increase in the aged population. The oldest person I've spoken to was 72 years old, sleeping in a garden shed.
Right. We're here today to talk about, to just provide an update on the Inner City project, particularly the City Mission Outreach Service. It enables us to fund the full-time community outreach worker who works with and for those who are homeless and living in Christchurch, on our streets, our street whānau, our kawa. So Josh has provided support not only from our wider team at the City Mission, which includes social workers, community connectors, kaitotoko, and also our wider City Mission teams. The update we wanted to provide you was to let you know, last time we came, we talked about a new approach that was implemented in December of 2022, and you can see that the number of referrals actually, interactions actually skyrocketed at that point in time. But from August through to November of this year, we're virtually doubled in the number of interactions that we're having with our street community, our street whānau. You'll see our busiest times are in the August, September, October, and the winter months. But also, just to let you know, Josh was actually sick in November, and also we were down on staff in that November period as well. The real focus of the service is really around building relationships, trust, walking alongside and enhancing mana. Look, I walked with Josh from the City Mission today down to the council, and I just wanted to say that was a heartwarming experience for me. The amount of people who were on the street, living on the street, who were interacting with him, shaking his hand, talking to him, connecting with him, was phenomenal from my perspective as his boss. That they really have a really strong relationship with this man. So not going into all of this, there's a lot of information there for you to read, but basically on average we are doing 792 interactions in that 4 months, which is around 50 per week, around about 10 per day. We get 115 new referrals received from a wide range of different places, which on average is about 1 new referral a day. Josh tells me that he's seeing a new face every day, a new person who is without a home, who's living on the street every day. We had 221 interactions with the local businesses around the city. It's about getting out there, getting known, so that they know Josh, who to contact if they have any issues in regards to our street whānau. That's really, really important. That's a strong part of that job. We're really focused on strengthening the relationships. We're really clear in terms of the City Mission that we can't do this alone. We want to thank our partners in terms of the council, John and Gary and Rose, for the work that they've been doing. This is also the police, our housing providers, everybody working together for shared solutions and a joined up approach around the way in which we work. I wanted to highlight this bloke. He's consistent. He's there at 7 o'clock every morning walking the streets. He's out there looking for hot spots. He knows everybody. So really, we've had increased engagement with our street whānau, but also strong increases in them linking with a wide range of different services, particularly health services within the mission, but also without within other services as well, and that's the navigation role that Josh provides. And also we've housed people as well through that process. You'll see the resources. There's a huge amount of resources that go into this: sleeping bags, mats, raincoats. Today on the street, one guy actually asked us for some underpants. So we'll be getting back to him.
Also, I'd like to say that, I can't do my job, without the trust and respect from the street whānau. So I'd like to actually give a calling out to them too and acknowledge that I know I can't do what I do without their trust. All I have really out on the street is my word and my mana, and I hold that very highly for myself and a street whānau. I'm here for the street whānau to help them through, but also the importance of collaborative work between so many other services is one way that we can actually bend the worm backwards to ending homelessness in Otatahi. And I think we have a strong opportunity to do this collaboratively and together.
We just wanted to highlight the changing nature of homelessness. You can see it there. There's over 2,000 people in the Christchurch city as of September of 2023 that are on waiting on the MSD housing register. So we're having an impact, and just to let you know, there's a long wait list for public housing.
Also, I'd like to follow on with that. It's not only the people that we see on our street. I'm talking about the unseen homeless, the homeless that I don't see when I leave the city. That's another kettle of fish, I think is the saying. But also, I'm seeing full-time workers, part-time workers that don't have homes, sleeping in their cars, going to do 12-hour shifts, finding somewhere to sleep, waking up, trying to find somewhere to clean themselves and get to work. So, this does not discriminate. Homelessness does not discriminate. It does not care for your age. It does not care for your race. If you are homeless, it is ready to consume you.
We are seeing, biggest thing for us in terms of the mission, which has been difficult, is that initially this was an inner city collaboration. Now we're seeing a lot of homeless move in the suburbs. Yes. Huge. It's a transient kind of population that's happening at the moment. So if you're not seeing them in the central city, it's because a lot of the time they're out in your wards, your suburbs as well. And Josh, we've enabled him to flex and to be able to provide that support as well. What we're also seeing is an older demographic as well. There's a lot of older people in terms of their circumstances, for whatever reason, may end up on the street as well. This is something that's not just common to outreach. It's actually something we're seeing in the mission. A lot more people really struggling to access emergency accommodation as well. I think we wanted to end it there and to give some time for questions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Councillor Barber?
Thanks for the amazing work that you do. It is just incredible, and I love the fact that you have relationships with all these people. I'm just thinking, how do we replicate Josh? Is there somebody else? Obviously he's unique.
Completely.
But having someone at the coalface who directly relates to people is probably the most important thing out of everything. So is there a way that you could pass those skills on, to somebody else, having an apprentice or...
Look, absolutely. I think we've talked about having a second person to support. We'd really like to do after hours and weekend and actually look at more about getting people into activities. Mission provides a whole lot of activities and services, but it's about what else can we do in the space that's a bit more creative and dynamic. And working with our council and the collaboration that we have around that, maybe we can explore that. He is unique. One of the things that I want to say about Josh is I'm a real advocate of the lived experience. People who have actually been there and have lived. And I think that actually helps in this space. So I certainly think if we'd like an extra person in that space, and if we could, it is about getting the right person, the right fit for that work.
As you say,
and mirroring him, going out with him.
I am one person, and Christchurch is a big city. We know this. I come to work with 100% passion and drive. Can I continually do it? Well, we all know that eventually it fades away and such, but I'm passionate about it, and I would love to have somebody to bring up with me and to walk the walk with me too, so I can venture off into other avenues that our city needs.
Well, good on you. You're doing God's work.
And I mean, one of the issues may be also with that extra worker to actually have people with the lived experience actually coming on board and actually coming into one of those roles as well. Thank you.
And we've got time for one quick one from Councillor Scandrett.
Yeah, look, thank you very much. And we know that there's a fallacy with more homes mean cheaper homes, which is not. It's expensive to build, etc. But my question, we've got all these rentals which we had before the earthquake and a lot built after. So do you think that short-term accommodation, so it just seems there's a gap somewhere that we're building all these homes and yet we've got homelessness. And I'm just wondering, we've seen overseas that there's been issues and they've banned short-term accommodation in certain areas for whatever reason. I'd be fascinated on your thoughts.
I mean, prior to the earthquake that pulled our city down, we had a lot of places like the old bars, like the Lancaster,
Yes.
a lot of pubs that would have single rooms that
Yes.
would accommodate people that need somewhere to live. I mean, that's gone. Transitional housing is what's missing.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for that.
And we do have transitional housing at the City Mission, but it's one unit. I mean,
we need
it
a lot
does
more of
take
it,
a
yeah.
village and it does take a huge collaborative approach.
And my quick note to that is it's not as easy as going, right, here's a house, here's one of our homeless people. There's a whole lot of work in that space and wrapped around support that needs to happen for that person to stay in that house.
But with
Takes
the
a village.
transitional housing, as you said, there were communities around that. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you very much for coming in and sharing that with us, and thank you so much for the work you do. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Right, I'd like to welcome Robert from Community Energy Action, who will provide an overview on the various activities that CEA are doing. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, councillors, for having me here today. I'm here as a result of the council actually wishing to understand what Community Energy Action Charitable Trust does, and I think that's fallen out of some funding that came through the Sustainability Fund, the Council Sustainability Fund, and for the councillors to understand more about what we do in the marketplace. So I'm just going to quickly run through the slideshow, and hopefully at the end we'll have some time for some questions. So why do we exist? We're a charitable trust. So the key thing about that is that all of our surpluses go back to the community. We don't have shareholders. We don't have anybody that is entitled to any of our surpluses. We are a charitable trust owned by effectively the community. So every time you or anybody gives us funding, that funding is used to go back into the community and support the community in many ways, shapes and forms. We provide insulation and heating. We provide lots of other things. We provide a thing called a scoopy. Anybody seen a scoopy before? Now these are brilliant. So if you've got condensation on your window, you slide the scoopy up the window, you undo the handle and you pour it in the sink. It gets rid of your condensation. Moisture is a major problem. So we do things, that's part of our energy advice in the community. We operate in the wider Canterbury and the West Coast regions. So there are three cornerstones of why we exist, and insulation, heating and ventilation. But the key things around this is how do we create a healthy home? And just bear in mind these things are key to what is ending up providing a healthy home. And ventilation is key, and we'll talk a bit more about that before, but just keep that in the back of your mind. So we do insulation, ceiling, underfloor, and what's called a ground vapour barrier that stops moisture rising out of the ground. We've had situations where insulation has been installed into a house and the people will call us later and say, our floorboards have shrunk, we can see the insulation through the floorboards. And we're going, yep. The reason for that is because the moisture's come out of the ground, swollen up your floorboards, and that shows how much moisture is circulating in your house. We have stopped that happening. Moisture is a huge issue for respiratory illness in this country. Along with that, we do heating. Heat pumps are wood burners. We're currently doing a wood burner work with Environment Canterbury, trying to replace something like 18,000 expired wood burners in the Canterbury region. LED lights, we have our own curtain bank. We do work with MB with their SEEK funding. Again, it's providing things like scoopies and window kits, which I'll talk a bit more about later on. Draft proofing stops the draft getting into houses, keeps the moisture out, energy efficient products, power meters, and again our energy advice service. So we work very closely with the government and government's agency ECA. So the government currently provides in the region of 80 to 90% subsidy for qualifying people to have their homes insulated and heating. Now this program's been running since 2009 and CEA's been engaged with this for a long time. CEA's actually been in existence since 1994 and been serving the community since then, and we've done over 30,000 houses. But the funding from government helps assist getting to those people in most need. The eligibility criteria is a community services card, or people living in deprivations 7 to 10. The people must be the owner-occupier and the house must be built before 2008. We don't do council houses under the program or Housing New Zealand. To say that we will do work that doesn't meet these criteria for the general public or for the council, should that need to be done. So we operate in the market as well as serving the needy in our community. And we have been very fortunate in having partners who supply funding, philanthropic funding to us that will top up the government funding so that in many cases we can insulate houses and heat houses for free. Now, Age Concern will tell you that nothing in this world is for free. However, we can do this for free. And I think it's a big takeout that I'd like to get across to the members of the public and the council, that this is actually possible in Canterbury and the West Coast, where someone can get their home insulated for free. And if the media were to pick that up, it would be fantastic. But clearly media don't like good news stories, doesn't sell newspapers. So there's a challenge. There's my challenge for the day. So if we go to who our sponsors are, Orion, who you will know well, is one of our major funders, and they've supported us for more than 25 years. So again, this funding helps, and along with Rata and Mainpower, Age Concern, and ECA, all help deliver insulation and heating into homes for those that can't afford to do it. The big takeout for this, of course, is what are the benefits, and the health benefits are something like $3.75 for every dollar invested. So if you want people to stop fronting up to the front door of the hospital, give us some more money and we'll insulate more houses, and that will stop the demand on the health sector. So where does my heat go? So interestingly enough, a lot of people don't understand where the heating goes. So 42% of your heat loss is through your ceiling. So clearly insulating the ceiling is a significant value. 10% through the floor, so we do underfloor, but also the ground vapor barrier stops the moisturising, and 12% through the windows, which is where our curtain bank comes to the fore. So what you can do to do these things: insulate the ceiling, well-fitted curtains, underfloor insulation, and all the other things listed there. So the big killer in our society is dampness in houses, and you'll see many programs in the media around mould being in rental properties. Have a bit of an issue with that sometimes, is that actually if you got up and cleaned it, that would get rid of it, and it's not that difficult to get rid of it. So the use of extraction is really key, especially in the bathrooms and kitchens. Open windows on the opposite sides of the house and let the draft take the damp air out and the clean air in. Remove the condensation and use your curtains. So I have a question for the councillors. Tell me who dries their washing in their house. Put your hand up. Come on, be honest. Every load of washing puts 4.5 litres of moisture into your house. That moisture then creates mould, which is then bad for respiratory illness. So please do not dry your clothes in your house. Buy a dryer. I'm sure on your salary you could afford one.
Don't say that.
But seriously, on a very serious matter, moisture in the home is extremely bad. Black mould is very bad for respiratory illness, and it's probably one of the reasons why New Zealand has one of the highest rates of respiratory illness in the world. We run a curtain bank. Our curtain bank offers curtains for free. I heard that word free again. Remember that we are a community trust and we look after our community. And the eligibility is for anyone. You can come along and pick up curtains and you can be referred through agencies. But this is funded in part by, again, philanthropic funding from Genesis and lotteries. Why do we need curtains? We've been through that exercise. I'm sure we're not going to go through that. And one of the key things that we have started selling is a thing called a window kit. So if you have wooden window frames, instead of going to double glazing at a significant cost, for about $50 you can do 3 bedrooms of effectively double glazing, which is a thin film like Glad Wrap that you put around your window frames, and it acts like double glazing. I've done it in my house, and you'll see on the picture the difference between the window that has the window kit on it and the one that doesn't, and the moisture that's on it. And I did it recently on one of my windows, and then left the one window next to it. In the morning there was condensation on the window that I hadn't done and not on the window that had been done. So for those that have got wooden window frames that haven't got double glazing, this is a very cheap alternative, and we supply that to a number of homes, and our MB Seek funding actually provides this to homes for free. The Scoopy, again, is something that we give away for free to homes as part of the Seek funding. All of these products are available online. We do home energy advice service, so that's about going to people's homes, helping them understand how to better use electricity or energy in their homes. This is something which is a huge need, and again the Seek funding helps pay for that. But again, it's one of the things that we do as an important service to our community to help people understand how better to keep their home warm and dry and also reduce their energy costs. And this again is funded by Orion, MB and ECAM. And that's me. Welcome any questions.
You've used up all your time, but thank you very much for bringing it. It's very, very interesting, and I like that window kit thing. Is yeah, it's good. Thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.
Good on you, bud. Okay, I'd like to invite Annabelle and Nikki, who will provide an update from the Central City Business Association.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. On behalf of the Christchurch Central City Business Association, we thank you for your continued support, and we're pleased to come and present a positive update on the Central City. Today, Nikki and I will briefly update you on the business outlook, safety, member engagement, visitors and events, and our plans for 2024. As you may know, the Central City Business Association is funded via a targeted rate by our members, and we're currently receiving $210,000. While we remain optimistic about the future, it's really important to note that the current business environment is very fragile. Escalating business costs pose a challenge, and it's vital that we keep an eye on the ball and that public money is spent wisely. Many of our members need to work 6 or 7 days a week just to keep their doors open. We're pleased to report that the safety team contract has been successfully renewed after going out to tender earlier in the year, contributing significantly to the enhanced safety of the central city. The disestablishment of the Colombo Street camp has been a positive step, and our safety team actively engaged with social agencies to address the fragile environment conditions. We've had positive feedback from those previously in that camp since its disestablishment, and they are using fewer drugs and are engaging with the social agencies. Small businesses, especially those with young staff in sole charge, have provided overwhelming feedback, and they've attributed the improved safety to the collaborative efforts, and we are grateful for the Christchurch City Council co-funding this initiative. The support from Council is $244,000 over 3 years via the Better Off funding.
Okay, one of the things that we have focused on this year is member engagement. All our executive are volunteers and we're connected to the members. One of the things that I'm always conscious of, as Annabelle said, is that many of the small business owners work 6 or 7 days in their business a week, and they work extremely hard to make it work. One of our events was our AGM in September, and we had a presentation by about Te Kaha, and the level of excitement and anticipation from the members was really pleasing. They can see it on the horizon and the opportunities that it will bring for Christchurch. We welcomed Andrew Plummer to the executive. Now, Andrew is a small business owner that, much like Annabelle, is working in his business every day and is connected to customers because he's talking and engaging with his customers on a daily basis. We have engaged with members in relation to marketing opportunities, and we have collaboration with various members to highlight businesses through our social media channels, and also an updated website and marketing campaign. Another area of focus and something that's great for the Central City is tourism events and visitors. It's really important for the businesses to have different types of people coming into the city at different times. So we really welcome the cruise visitors. They are fantastic. They bring a vibe to the city on the days that they're there, and there are a number of businesses that really connect with the cruise visitors. Also, tourists are really important, and they create an atmosphere in the city as well, but they support other businesses, so it's really important to have different types of people coming into the city. The businesses really appreciate the cruise ambassadors that have been in the initiative from Christchurch NZ, and they are the volunteers are supported with free parking, with goods and food from the various businesses. And I think one of the great things about the volunteers is that we're really connected and invested in the city, and they're very proud of it. And we highly value Christchurch NZ's work with cruises and events. One thing that I understand that Christchurch NZ would like to do is have an Instagrammable sign down the Hack Circle end of City Mall to ease congestion around the Bridge of Remembrance when it's cruise days, because there's a lot of congestion and people waiting for trams, and if we can encourage people to walk all the way up to Hack Circle, and then it would also then filter down High Street towards Cathedral Square. But there'd need to be engagement with the affected parties and the shops and business owners in that area. Looking to 2024, one of the things that we are planning to do is review our strategic plan. It's a 3-year strategic plan, and we will be focusing on the ongoing regeneration of the city, and also the important anchor projects that will come on stream. So hopefully in another 3 years it will be an even improved Central City.
And once again, we would like to thank you for your continued support. We believe through the collaboration and strategic planning, we can overcome the challenges and continue to make Christchurch Central City a thriving hub for visitors and businesses alike. We really appreciate the council support, especially from John Meeker, Bruce Rendell, Gary Watson and Mary Richardson, especially for their tremendous work in co-funding the security team. Your commitment to ensuring the safety and prosperity of our central city is invaluable, so thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely good news. Councillor Scandrett.
Hi, Annabelle, how are you? Hello.
Hi.
With regards to the congestion at the Bridge of Remembrance, how's it operate with regards with the buses dropping them into the central city? Could they not be spread around because we've got the Te Pai which they could walk through? I mean, I'm just wondering how that works. I should know, I suppose, but
Yeah, on a cruise ship day, if you do go towards the Bridge of Remembrance, you'll see trams, full trams going past, and then the group at the tram stop gets bigger and bigger. So we sort of welcome anything that helps make it more enjoyable for the residents and the visitors.
because I mean there are a number of tram stops. So I mean maybe it's a question to CNZ, but yeah. But thank you very much, and thank you for what you do.
Councillor Moore.
Thank you. A bit of an unusual question. The Hack Circle, did tourists find that confusing at all? Because, of course, council demolished Hack Circle and there's no longer something that really represents a circle. So we're sending people to a Hack Circle. Are they looking for a circle?
I think
they can't see a circle?
I think we're looking for a placemaking site to make them really essentially move off that tram stop on the corner of City Mall.
I'm just wondering if the name gets confusing for people when they're looking for a circle.
I think it's not actually focusing on the Hack Circle, it's focusing on moving people along City Mall and along High Street, and that's just the name we use for that area. So,
I just mean if they're encouraged to go towards a circle and they're looking for one, not sure where it is because there's one's been demolished.
Thank you, Councillor Johansson.
Thanks. I love the name of the Hack Circle. As you may be aware, we set up a working party for 6 months to change the name, and they couldn't come up with anything, and so to call it the Hack Circle is quite good. No, I wasn't on it. But I was just wondering if you had any feedback around car parking in the city and how that's going.
We haven't.
I think parking is a vexed issue. The more people we can get into the central city, the better, and people will there will be people that want to drive in, so we do need car parking.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Okay then.
Recently, I was overseas in London, and I noticed that there's a proliferation of key rings with Big Ben and all those sorts of things. I mean, do you think there'd be any advantage in us sort of marketing ourselves to tourists with sort of like little iconic key rings with the
Like
maybe
Hack Circle or something.
like the circle, or like the stadium, the cathedral on key rings? Can you see any benefit in that sort of?
I think you could spend your money better.
That's what we want. Good, honest advice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in, and Merry Christmas, and have the rest of the year off. Good on you. Right.
No.
So I'd now like to invite Audrey and Josiah to speak about the arts sector, please. Hello there.
Tēnā koutou. My name's Josiah, this is Audrey. A bit of background around us. We're both freelance artists in Ōtautahi. I'm a writer, theatre maker and educator. Audrey is an artist, curator and event coordinator. Both of us sit on the Toi Ōtautahi Advisory Group, which is a group that advises and advocates on behalf of the Toi Ōtautahi Arts Strategy. Now, this art strategy is for both Christchurch and Banks Peninsula, and if I just quote from it for a moment, the strategy recognises the impacts of significant events in the city and the role the arts and creativity has in healing, connecting communities, and finding innovative solutions to a range of issues. I just want to note for a moment that the arts strategy is not just for, quote unquote, the arts community, it's for everyone, because the arts is not just for the arts community, it's for everyone. And when we talk about the arts community generally, I just want to note that it's not a vertical structure that operates through kind of traditional hierarchies and things like that. There's often a kind of feedback loop that goes on. For example, in creative spaces and education sectors, people who are teaching are often teaching the next generation of artists who later will often come back and teach, often in those same spaces. There's a kind of circular function to the way a lot of these spaces work. In relation to Toi Ototahi specifically, the arts team here have started the Toi Ototahi mentorship group, which is a great example of doing a lot with a little. So the mentorship group allows for mentorship of people in specific fields within the arts to upskill and connect with professionals in the sector. I can provide more information around that, but in the interests of time, I'm going to jump right on ahead. I was going also to provide a list of a bunch of arts organizations in the city, but that list is extensive, and again, in the interest of time, I'm going to skip past that. Something that we don't talk about often in the arts is the relationship between economics and the arts, and that's something that we just want to provide a little bit of insight around. Firstly, Te Rama Mai is a good example of the intersection of arts, community, and cultural engagement, which pulled in estimated around 100,000 people this year. So you can imagine the kind of economic potential if we really capitalized on that. I also want to note that in the Creative Arts Economic Analysis 2023, it was noted that the GDP output of Christchurch's creative arts sector has grown at almost double the rate of Christchurch's overall GDP since 2017. In the 2022 financial year, the creative arts sector contributed 4.2% of New Zealand's total GDP. As a point of comparison, agriculture contributed 4.6% of the nation's total GDP, which shows that the creative sector is and can be a moneymaker with the right support in ways that we often don't envision. Just as a note, Christchurch's creative arts sector contributed 1.1%, I believe, to the city's GDP, and the agriculture sector in Christchurch is 4.6% as well. In the same 2022 financial year, in Christchurch, 5,690 creative sector employees generated approximately $718 million in economic output. That's a value of around $120,000 per worker. We can see on an audience level the economic demand for the creative arts in the region, for example, in Port Noy's Festival Littleton. The festival's in March, which is 3 months away, and the early bird tickets have actually already sold out 3 months in advance. The picture is not just creative, not just economic, it also intersects with well-being. I'm going to hand over to Audrey to talk about that.
Kia ora koutou. Some of you may know me as the art chemist. So me and health and well-being in the arts go hand in hand. I would like to address two key pillars in the Toi Ototahi strategy, which are well-being and leadership. So using just a couple of examples from recent events and a fair few quotes from the strategy itself that I think is fantastic. So we know that art and well-being are connected. We know that the arts are central to our identity. We know that arts sustain our well-being, and we know that the arts and creativity underpin innovation and boost the economy. Don't just take that from me. I've got a quote from the World Health Organization, who found that taking part in some form of arts activity helps to overcome social isolation, chronic pain, experience decreases in anxiety and depression, as well as lift confidence and self-esteem. In these cases, those therapeutic qualities have a meaningful and often long-lasting impact on people's well-being. And well-being is more than just fixing things when they're broken. It's about building a solid community to help keep us supported, especially during the ongoing global crises of climate, natural disasters, and war. So we need the arts now more than ever. The arts allow us to process, to heal, and connect. Some great examples of this are in late November, the block party took place in the Arts Precinct to celebrate the Year of the Arts. In just one day, the block party hosted 27 events involving 21 different organisations and a slew of local artists. It was a highly visible celebration of our diverse communities and a wonderful example of cross-organisation collaboration. So those collaborations and partnerships are something that I really want to celebrate and thank you for. Partnerships with council and arts organisations have been hugely important, especially in the past couple of years, in helping our creative sector to thrive and get stronger. A key collaboration which I've been directly involved with is the Sanctuary exhibition and creative occupation of Tūranga by Ōtautahi Creative Spaces. We've been working with Christchurch City Libraries, and we've shared resources, skills, knowledge, all sorts to benefit over 30 artists who have experienced mental distress. And we have put them in the gallery, we've put them all around the library with various interactions, and this has reached a huge audience that doesn't necessarily visit more traditional art institutions. We're bringing art to the people, and I think that's something really important. Not only do projects like this encourage well-being and a wider engagement with the arts, they enable professional development and upskilling within our community. One of the venues that took part in the aforementioned block party was Toi Awaha. This is the building on the corner opposite the museum and the Arts Centre. Toi Awaha just celebrated its first birthday last week and has become a valuable space for artists to connect, make and learn. And it's right in the centre of the city, something that we've been crying out for since the earthquake, so thank you. This is a community art hub that provides affordable art studios for a range of practitioners, writers, painters, photographers, textile artists, heaps more. It also hosts community events which increase the capacity of the arts sector in the city, which is an investment in creating arts leaders of the future and encouraging people to make Ōtautahi their home. An example of these events, there's Artist Life School, which I've been running in collaboration with Toi Ōtautahi in the physics room. We bring arts practitioners together, do professional development for emerging and self-taught artists. We've also got people like Grace Ryder teaming up with Toi Ōtautahi to run a series of funding workshops and drop-in sessions for local creatives. If we want to continue to build a city, which, and I'm going to quote the strategy here, is audacious, inclusive, empowering and collaborative, this support and partnership need to continue. So that was a really non-exhaustive list from both of us on events that have been incredibly important in enriching our creative ecology to make this city a vibrant and exciting place to be. Basically, we're here today to tautoko what you've already enabled and to highlight the value of arts in our community and to encourage you to keep supporting and investing in our art strategy so that Ōtautahi will, and this is another quote, be known as New Zealand's best place to live and create, where the arts activate Ōtautahi Christchurch and creative exploration defines who we are.
Excellent work. Thank you. We've got time for one question. Councillor Scandrett.
Thank you. It's always been, and look, thank you for the work you're doing. It's absolutely right with regards to creativity, and it's always been a struggle getting sponsorship. And you just mentioned about a funding workshop. Do you do workshops because, with regards to getting professional sponsor, with regards to the art and what specific groups can do? Because I know that, you know, you look at, say, an accounting firm, some would say they can be very creative if you've got the right one, but generally they're pretty bland, let's be honest. So, but they've got money.
We primarily, so funding workshops that the Artist Life School has run have been focused on places like Creative New Zealand, community boards, things like that. I think a sponsorship one about how to liaise with businesses would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to take note of that.
Yeah.
But also Grace Ryder's Christchurch and the South Island in general is extremely underrepresented in CNZ funding.
Yeah.
And that's something that these capacity building workshops are hoping to help to make better.
I should also note that kind of sits outside of our role with the Toi Ōtautahi Advisory Group. That's kind of more related to the kind of broader picture in the city. But one example potentially of somewhere that those kind of things can be supported through Toi Ōtautahi could be through that mentorship program, which is already providing some of that upskilling in terms of funding and things like that as well for people who are being mentored.
Because the funding right across the board for our organisations like ours and all of them, there's higher pressure now on our funding right across the board. So I think that philanthropic and commercial sponsorship is going to be that much more important. So I think it should be something that should really look at.
Yeah, thanks. We're seeing those pressures in the arts sector as well, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. Thank you. I'd now like to invite Annabelle and Brad, who is online, hopefully, who will give us an update on the New Zealand Opera. Welcome.
Kia ora koutou katoa. No o te tāhia ho ko Annabelle Holland toku ingoa. So I was born and live in Christchurch, and Brad was going to be here, but unfortunately our national air carrier cancelled the flight. So it's great that he's able to join us via Zoom. I'd also like to appreciate Mayor Major as New Zealand Opera patron. We're very grateful and appreciative, and also for the councillors for their work and the funding that New Zealand Opera receives. It makes such a difference, and particularly for me being in Christchurch, it's really important that New Zealand Opera is well represented here on stage and behind the scenes. So I'd like to hand over to Brad, and he'll give you more insights.
Nā mai, haere mai, ko Brad Kun toko ingoa, tuaho, te tumu whakare o New Zealand Opera, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much, everyone, for allowing us to present to you. I blame the Auckland air controllers, and I would much rather be with you in person. I'm sorry we can't be. Next slide, please. I wanted to share with you some of our offerings in 2024, and this is my first season of programming as General Director. In 2024, we're going to continue New Zealand Opera's journey of recent years, which is making opera which both sings to and reflects us here in Aotearoa. And we're doing a slight change of priorities. We're focusing more and more on community. Opera is the medium in which we work, but we're moving away from the idea that we're importing high European art to the North or South Island, and we're discovering ways of re-engendering energy and connection with our communities. More of that a little later on. Next slide, please. If there's a change from the last few seasons, it would be that we're no longer describing ourselves as a radical opera company, but we're describing ourselves as a progressive one. That means that we are as inclusive as we can possibly be and not doctrinaire. And so we've built a season, including Christchurch, where there are multiple touch points for the works that we present, because we realize that opera has multiple audiences, not just one. Next slide, please. So as part of the diversity that we're offering, we are beginning work on a major community opera project, which we will seed in Christchurch in association with CSO and the University of Canterbury. We're really excited about this because community opera is our way of enshrining our connection with the community in the work that we do. On the main stage, we're presenting something to Christchurch, which is a bit of a naughty one. Again, upsetting expectations about what opera might be. And we are celebrating our past, the past of our art form, while stimulating our future. Next slide, please. We're opening our season in Wellington, but the first main stage production we have is a new setting of Jane Austen's novel Mansfield Park, which will premiere in Wellington and Auckland. But we already have plans to bring this production to Christchurch and the South Island in 2025 or 2026. The idea for this production is that it's highly portable, very scalable, and can travel across the country. So this is in the nature of a seeding round for 2024, and we'll bring it to Christchurch and the South Island in subsequent years. Next slide, please. The main stage production which Christchurch is going to experience is the New Zealand Opera premiere of Rossini's last great comic opera. It's got marauding men, cross-dressing pilgrims, fake holy men, and three-in-a-bed romps. All of those elements are from the original 1828 story, and perhaps that's the reason why this opera has been somewhat neglected over the last 200 years, because it is simply outrageous. Next slide, please. We've got an all Kiwi team of director. Next slide, thank you. Next, Simon Phillips and Tracy Grant Lord are doing a new production for our company at very short notice, both distinguished New Zealand creators. Next slide, please. You can expect this crazy comedy of disguise, seduction, and chaos. It's a bel canto masterpiece, and it's entirely new for New Zealand Opera's work. It has been seen in Christchurch once before, I believe, by Canterbury Opera in 2006. Next slide, please. Ori is an opera in which there is no learning, no moral growth, and certainly no preaching. It's an unabashed celebration of desire, appetite, and sensuality. So that's the main stage production that Christchurch will experience in 2024. Next slide, please. Our final show of the year is Verdi's Rigoletto, which is only in Auckland. So I'd like to speak very briefly to the desire for our supporters in Canterbury and the South Island for more opera from us. We're in the fortunate position of having unsatisfied demand. That is, there is a degree of frustration as to why we're not present in Canterbury and the South Island more. As you would expect us to point out, this is largely a function of the funding structure that we receive from ARAFA, from Christchurch and Wellington City Councils, and from CNZ. We're very grateful for Christchurch City Council's support to enable us to perform in Christchurch. But were the funding to be allocated on a per capita basis and relating to what Auckland give us, it would be more like $150,000 per year than the $60,000 we receive. Again, we're very grateful. We would love to be in Christchurch more, and were the funding available from any source, including philanthropy, which I understand Councillor Scandreth referred to, that's something we're very actively pursuing currently. Next slide, please. So opera with a community heart is one of our new strap lines, and we're thinking hard about how we connect opera with our communities. We're reversing it from talking about outreach and talking more about as how can we embed communities into our work. Next slide, please. There are a number of ways that we're doing this in 2024, including Christchurch on the South Island. We have our very active Opera in Schools program. We have Opera in Concerts, Lullaby, a Maori youth opera, which is currently in production and rehearsal. Next slide, please. And in 2025, we will be able to be seeding this new community opera, which will begin rehearsals and preparation in Christchurch in, we anticipate, the third quarter of 2024, but complementing it with more classic works and more new work. Next slide, please. Our new chapter at New Zealand Opera is focused on inclusion, distinctiveness, and defining what sustainability for opera means in Aotearoa. Thank you very much again for your support for our work.
Are you done?
Yes.
Brad? Yeah.
Thank
Hey, thank you, Brad. Wow, what a busy season you've got coming up next year and the year after, and it's certainly you're not letting the grass grow under your feet. That's fantastic, and I'm very sorry you didn't get to see the best airport in New Zealand this morning when you were flying down. Have we got any questions, please? No, everyone seems to be very happy with your presentation. Thank you very much for your effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okie doke. We're now moving on to deputations by appointment. We have a number of deputations who will speak regarding item 6, the stormwater management plan. I'll first welcome Jess and Nancy from Christchurch International Airport to talk to us, please.
Tēnā koutou, everyone. My name's Jesse Amer. I'm an environmental and planning advisor at Christchurch Airport, or as Amy refers to, the best airport in New Zealand.
Atamarie, everyone. My name is Nancy Vance. I'm a landscape architect at Boffamuskel here in Christchurch, representing Christchurch International Airport this morning.
So we'd like to begin by thanking the Council and Paul Dixon in particular for the positive engagement we've had on the Puhara Kekanui Sticks Stormwater Management Plan. The ongoing management of bird strike in this catchment is crucial to the safe operation of Christchurch Airport, with large parts of this catchment being within the flight paths where planes and birds share airspace. And in this catchment in particular is rather urbanised, with a large number of proposed basins in the western part of that catchment. And we'd like to emphasise that these can be designed for mitigation, and ongoing dialogue is crucial to achieving this. So the airport has really appreciated the ongoing dialogue it's had with the council to date, and is included, including recognition of bird strike in recent stormwater management plans, such as the Otokaikino, and now in this plan. Incorporating bird strike risk into these documents is making a difference, and the airport has recently been working with several parties to ensure that their stormwater basins are designed in a way that does not increase bird strike risk to the airport. The airport is supportive of references to bird strike within this plan, however seeks that given it is a rather lengthy document, several additional targeted references to bird strike would provide some additional clarity for users while ensuring consistency with the Council's global stormwater consent. The specific wording that is being sought is set out in the table appended to the airport submission, and we've drafted it in a way such that it can be simply copied and pasted into the plan. In short, this includes a new objective that seeks to minimise bird strike risk in the catchment through the location and design of stormwater facilities, along with an action plan as to how that can be achieved in practice, and some additional brief references to bird strike in the executive summary and conclusion and in chapters 7 and 11. These additions are concise and draw attention to bird strike in a clear yet proportionate manner. I'd like to thank you again for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, excellent. Councillor Templeton, then Councillor Kewen.
Thanks so much for that. What feedback have you had from staff so far on the inclusion of those particular sets of words?
So to date, there's been a couple of minor changes, but other than that, the bulk of the wording that we've sought hasn't been included in the most recent draft plan before you guys.
Okay, and you don't know why not? I guess we'll ask staff that, but you're not quite sure why?
Well, I guess from our perspective is that I think we understand that they think that bird strike is sufficiently referenced in the plan, and we do appreciate the references to bird strike in this plan. They are sort of, I guess, are built on the work that we've been doing with the council through the Otokaikino and previous stormwater management plans, and so there is reference to bird strike in the plan, and we are very appreciative of that. We just think that there's a few more targeted references that could be spread throughout the plan to help, I guess, guide users, considering it is a rather large document.
And what impact do you think that the changes would have for the airport?
So the primary one is just to, I guess, alert users to come and engage with the airport. And so I think from a practical perspective, that would enable more dialogue and engagement and enable us to work with them to design that basin in a way that ensures that bird strike risk is mitigated. So we think that it will have real practical impact.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kewen, please.
Yeah, so just around bird strike, there seems to be a proliferation of Canadian geese in Christchurch. If you go around any of the waterways, there's a ton. Do you have a position on those? Because I think they'll be a bit worse for a jet engine than a sparrow.
I can partially respond to that. I'm a landscape architect, so not an ornithologist, but the design guidelines drafted here are based on Dr. Lee Bull's work, and she's an ecologist that specialises in ornithology. The birds that are most that cause the most risk are the large birds like Canada geese, pigeons, and there was one more, southern blackback gull. They're the ones, and it's shared airspace at those heights that they fly. In terms of increased numbers, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly, but those are the ones that we look for mitigating habitat value for them and plant selection and discouraging them from standing water bodies or from stormwater first flush basins or wetlands.
Yeah, so are we at the point where we're going to need a more proactive geese cull? Like I'm vegetarian, but more than happy to have a big geese feast every year.
And I'm Canadian and more than happy, but but I that's not my expertise. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it would be good to see the numbers because they ruin the waterways. I don't know if anyone else likes stepping in geese, but
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next I'll welcome Selena from the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust to the table. Hello.
Hello. Kia ora koutou. I'm Jackie Howard, the Community Coordinator for the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust, and I'm joined here by our lead environmental advocacy volunteer, Selena Coombe. Firstly, we would just like to start off by saying thank you to the Christchurch City Council for their time and effort in preparing this very significant stormwater management plan, as well as for all of our prior consultations with the planners, as well as facilitation from the Christchurch West Mountain Water Zone Committee to help us prepare our own submission. And would also like to thank our amazing volunteers who took the time to put this submission together as well. Next slide. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust, we are a local river care group that's been around since 2002, and we're based off of the Christchurch City Council document, the Sticks Vision 2000 to 2040. And this has 5 key visions. 1 is the creation of a viable spring-fed river ecosystem. 2 is the creation of a source-to-sea experience. 3 is to develop a living laboratory for research and learning. 4 is to make the Sticks the place to be. And the 5th is fostering partnerships. So now we'll move into the main recommendations for the plan.
So the Sticks Living Laboratory Trust strongly suggests that the council consider the following. Stormwater management addresses maintaining and improving the flow of stormwater through the natural waterways, and in this regard, the plan should fund programs for willow control and riparian planting for the mid to lower Puhariki Kinui at a minimum. Wetlands developed or considered a focus to meet goals 1.1 and 2.4 should be monitored for sediment, accumulation of metals, and other contaminants to ensure they remain at ecologically safe levels. Whilst we support goals 1.1 and 2.4 to develop wetland capacity, the plan should include the restoration of degraded wetlands in the Puhariki Kinui catchment, and their primary restoration objectives should be for ecology or biodiversity. In Goal 1.2, although design should conform to infrastructure design standards, the design of new treatment facilities should aim to establish or mimic authentic natural wetland ecosystems that support a representative set of plant and animal species and populations and are well buffered from adjacent land uses. Rather than encouraging rain gardens in plan, we recommend the development of larger downstream systems so that all 6 values can be better provided for, including contributing to buffering the catchment's natural waterways and helping achieve the Sticks to Sea reserve network and walkway through property acquisition for stormwater purposes. Lastly, Goal 1.5 to commit to reducing road sediment should be enacted. Furthermore, Goal 3 include an action plan similar to item 2.4 to proactively develop catchment resilience to copper runoff. The trust strongly supports Goal 5 but recommends that council also work more closely with community groups to build more resilient waterway ecosystems. The trust recommends that Goal 6 include an action plan item to support river improvements such as riparian plantings to increase shading and reduce weed growth. In regards to waterfall reduction goals mentioned on page 73, that this be targeted towards non-native waterfall, such as the Canadian goose, or at least ensure that no action is taken without confirming it does not threaten the ecological value of the Puhariki Kinui. The plan should include litter trash racks or screens at key points of drain inflows to the Puhariki Kinui, while keeping in mind the travel of indigenous fish and invertebrates, especially during spawning seasons. Christchurch City Council set up long-term goals to mitigate climate change and to increase climate resilience in the Puhariki Kinui with the assurance that there will be funding security. The plan should place more emphasis on climate change at the start of the stormwater management plan and in particular the executive summary. In general, Sticks Living Laboratory Trust wants to see more focus on the actions that will be taken to meet the described goals and ensure there's time and money dedicated to achieving the goals in the Christchurch City Council long-term plan.
Thank you very much for listening to that very extensive list of recommendations. We wanted to make sure we made it through all of them. And thank you again, and we're more than welcome to take questions, the remaining.
Okay, we've got one, and Tyler had his hand up, and he's bigger than me. All right, Pauline.
Answer. Do you have any? Thank you. Do you have any idea of the budget required for the willow control in the riparian planting?
So this year we put in about 50,000 plants as a trust. So that's through our Ministry for Environment funding. So it's a 5-year funding program that spreads $4.2 million over the course of that. And the primary part of that is willow control, woody weed control, and riparian planting. And so we have, I think our budget was about $860,000.
Yeah, but you're asking council for some funding?
So our MFE funding is based off of match-for-match funding with City Council's waterway expenditure budget.
Yep.
So the money that we spend should also be matched by council for that.
I'm just wondering if you had an idea what you need.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay,
Anthony Shadbolt would definitely be able to answer that question. So.
Thank you very much for coming in. Brilliant. And you have a Merry Christmas too.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Too. Thank you.
And our last deputation is, I'd like to welcome Sandeep to the table for our final, as I said, final deputation regarding item 14, the potential sale of number 14 Hasketts Road. Welcome.
Kia ora. Namaskara. I'm Sandeep. We are from the Paliaikol Trust. We're a charitable trust operating since 2021 in Christchurch with the aim of building a Hindu hub in Christchurch and Canterbury. Hindu is the most misinformed or misunderstood word for just a faith-based group, but we are a very diverse, multi-ethnic, multicultural group as it is. Just our trust is steered by an 18-member trust board. We come from different countries, not just India. You know, we are from Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India. Our volunteers are from Nepal, Fiji, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. So we are a very diverse group of people who have come together and trying to achieve this project. As per Sensic's latest, Hindus are probably the second largest group after faith-based group after Christians in New Zealand. But unfortunately in Christchurch or in the South Island, we do not have a common space for all that connects all Hindus together. That's often because they're subdivided between the languages and sub-nationalities among us. So we are working very hard to building the hub for all Hindus in Christchurch and in the South Island. We are also, we're not just going to be about the religion and the faith, but it's more about the community and the unity that it can bring in. Temples and any religious groups, for the matter, has always been very supportive of the national and the local governments. Temples in Auckland has been a great promoter of the COVID vaccines, and Hindus are one of the groups who got vaccinated very quicker than other groups, and that's because of the temples were part of it. There's so much value this project will bring into Christchurch. When you think of tourism, you could think of education, a place of gathering for people, a place of oneness and kindness. We are also, our project will also signify and showcase the common similarities between the Maori traditions and Hinduism, and there's so many that we can show how they are in line, how they speak to the ancestors and to the nature, and how they believe in the same thing, how they try to promote the nature. So we've got this finally contracted land through the council with the help of Bruce and his team at 14 Hasketts Road, which we believe we can add a lot of value to this property. This is our first step. We work very closely with other groups like the Multicultural Council, the Indian Social Cultural Club, and all other subgroups operating in Christchurch, and the whole community has been looking forward to this, and this is our first milestone in our project, and we request the council to consider our proposal. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, brilliant. Thank you very much. Is Councillor Peters?
Thank you. I just wanted to check and hopefully verify whether your trust has, I guess, done all the due diligence around the nature of these properties, and whether you may have employed a noise expert to assess the impact of the Ruapuna noise on that location, and then with that perhaps submitted a report from that noise expert to the district plan team here at council to just ensure that everything's covered off.
No, we had experts in there. We haven't prepared an official report as such. Lot to do with we are at the moment trying to save every inch of money to buy the land. But we've had experts through our community, through the acoustics. We work in the region of acoustics and engineering. We've been there and we've assessed a couple of events that's happened in Ruapuna and how that affects this property. The wide, I think we've all agreed that it's not going to affect us and to what we are trying to do. And the times of operations will also be a matter for that. It will not affect us to that extent.
Okay, and I guess to take that as a little bit further, are you aware that Ruapuna are not operating at their full capacity at the moment under the district plan?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So therefore things may change?
Yes, yeah, we've been advised, yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Councillor Kewen, and then that's it.
Yeah, so in your images, which are pretty stunning, the temple's next to water. Is that important, and what's the plan?
The plan is to have a smaller pond.
So
and
like a wee lake?
It's like a small pond, and the pond, the purpose of the pond will also be stormwater retention and firefighting. It helps aid firefighting at this stage. Traditionally, temples would have a large pond, and it's been used for conserving rainwater back in the day. That's why you used to have large ponds, and people used to go to the pond to take water from it. So this is just a representation of that.
And with the balance of nature, all of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you consider somewhere else, like down next to the Avon, for instance? We've got a lot of land in those areas. Was that ever a consideration?
Yes, so the reason for considering Templeton was the large portion of our community lives that part of Christchurch. It's either Avon, Rusley, Cricketon, and quite a large population lives in Templeton, Rolleston.
Right.
And that's Templeton serves as a centre point for everyone. And that's the feedback that we've had. We've looked at land along marshlands and a few other areas, and this was more preferred as it connects the community better.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sandeep.
Thank you so
very
much.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't believe it. We're 4 minutes ahead of time. Okay, so we'll break for a cup of tea. We'll be back here at 11:20 because we have the zone committee chairs and deputies presenting. So please be on time.